Hello and welcome. Welcome again in our new session. In this session, we are going to tackle the state of Kotlin 2024. But first, let me thank you for attending this session and being a loyal for GDG Helwan and Kotlin Cairo user group. I believe the last session is now ending, already been ended, which been discussed by Nurhan, our colleague in Yassir and volunteering activity community. Without wasting more time, allow me to start the presentation. So our presentation today, as I mentioned, is going to be State of Kotlin 2024. It's going to be by me, Shady Selim, Staff Android Engineer at Yassir. And let's start the slides. So a quick speaker bio. Started coding at 8-year-old. It was and professionally for about 24 years ago. I started first as a web developer, then shifted my expertise to mobile development. I am mobile and web evangelist, technology savvy, think tank, UI and UX freak, public speaker since 2015, and certified Google speaker since 2015. GDG Helwan speaker since and leader since 2017, and also Kotlin Cairo group founder and leader since 2017, and mentor and tester in Udacity nano degree since 2017. It was a very big year for me and also for Kotlin. And let's discover why. So Kotlin, a modern language. Actually, Kotlin had its first release or its first stable version. It was in 2016, in August 2016. But this started later, earlier. It started in 2014 to craft this new language. But as mentioned, in August 2016, they released version 1. And in 2017, in May 2017, in Google I.O., Google announced Kotlin as their official supported language for Android. And then in 2019, they decided to announce Google as the Android Go Kotlin first. So what is the difference between the two announcements? The difference that in 2017, when they announced the Kotlin is official language, is that I can create my application either using Java, which was the official new language to create Android applications, which, by the way, I didn't like so much, but because I only learned it for the sake of Android. And in 2019, they said, it's now Android goes Kotlin first, which means whenever you are going to think about creating a new application, you first think about creating it in Kotlin, not Java. If you are going to create an episode or a tutorial, you need to go to Kotlin first. If you are going to create an Udemy classes, for example, you need to create it in Kotlin and not Java. So this is the announcement in 2019. And in 2024, Google I.O. Officially announced support for KMP, Kotlin Multiplatform. And also this year, they announced Kotlin 2. So it's been 6 years from Kotlin 1 to Kotlin 2, which is a very big announcement. So let's see the announcement in 2017.
But there is one more thing. One thing we think would be an incredible complement to the story, and it is one thing our team has never done for developers. We have never added a new programming language to Android, and today we're making Kotlin an officially supported language in Android. Kotlin is what our developer community has already asked for. It makes developers so much more productive. It is fully Android runtime compatible. It is totally interoperable with your existing code. It has fabulous IDE support, and it's mature and production ready from day one. We are also announcing our plans to partner with JetBrains, creating a foundation for Kotlin.
So actually, that was the announcement of 2017 when they announced Kotlin as a language for Android development. And it was a very big announcement because not only that, but other also developers, they've been suffering from from only using Java. And I had some some nice slides about how they even the Android team they've been very happy that they've been able to get rid of Java. Now, so why Kotlin and what is Kotlin? Now it is the go-to language, as I mentioned, when we decide to start developing a new app, which is first focus and support from Google and Android. So the announcement of 2017, what does it actually mean? It means that whenever I do have a problem with Kotlin, I don't need to go to JetBrains, the company which created the language, but I can also refer to the Google team so they can answer me and they can fix the problem with Kotlin latest release or Kotlin with the Android integrations. And almost all new resources, as mentioned, should be created in Kotlin, like training docs, samples, code labs, courses, articles and videos, Kotlin vocabulary series. It is a series on YouTube, and also the Met series, which is modern Android development series. Android Jetpack. Android Jetpack, it also been announced in 2017. As I mentioned, it was a very busy year. So in 2017, they announced the first release of Jetpack libraries. It contains the constraint layout, for example. In end of 2017, they had architecture component version 1, which is lifecycle view model and ROM. So the view model that you are using it with every Android application, it's been announced and been created and been public introduced in 2017. And in 2018, Jetpack announced paging and also navigation and work manager. And by the end of 2018, they also announced material design component. Another big announcement, it was in 2019, it was Jetpack Compose and also Camera X. So what exactly is Jetpack Compose? Jetpack Compose is a big thing, and when I've been introduced to Kotlin, I said it is the very biggest thing. Then since they introduced Android in 2018. Actually, iOS, it started in 2008, and Android started in 2008. iOS started in 2007, and Android started in 2008. It was the first release for Android. And Jetpack Compose, as mentioned, it was announced in 2019, and I consider it the first big thing after Kotlin, which was announced in 2017. So what is Jetpack Compose? Okay, let's say a picture is better than 1,000 words. So if we look at the code, direct as a code, we can see that it has add composable as an annotation. And beneath it, we do have a function which starts with a capital, which is a very strange thing. To see a function in Kotlin starts with a capital. This is how compose functions are being written. And beneath it, we do have a card. Why? Because we want to draw a card. So we do have a card, and we do have a variable. The variable name is expanded, and we annotated it by remember. So we can make sure that it can survive any configuration change, and it is mutable state, because we announced that it is mutable state of false. Because we mentioned false, that means that it is a Boolean variable. We are now want to draw our elements in a column, and that's why we mentioned that it is going to be under column. So we will put our elements upside each others. We use a modifier which is clickable to make sure that it is going to be a clickable component or a clickable element. And in it, we are going to change the state or change the value of expanded by the verse. So if it's been true, we are going to change it to false, and if it was false, we are going to change it by true with every click on the column. So the whole column is clickable for me. I want to add an image, so it is easy. I am going to insert image, and inside it, I will use the painter resource and I will use the Jetpack Compose image resource from my drawable in my package. I want to add some animations, so it won't be a sudden change. It is going to be expanded and then contracted again. I want it to be done with an animation, so I will use animated visibility. So I'm changing the visibility of my composable, but with animation. And within it, I will going to add a text because I want to add a word which is Jetpack Compose. So this word, which is Jetpack Compose, I added it to a text parameters, and I want to give it a bigger font size. So I am going to get the or use the material scene and use a typography from it, and from it I am going to assign the style of header 2 to my text, so it will take the header 2 style. I can see some comments. Please, I will answer all the comments by the end. But I will try to finish my slides because I do have a very big chunk of slides. I will try to finish them in a very big haste, so we can take your questions. So as you can see that it is very easy to read, very easy to understand, very natural. It is very straight, direct English, and it is also you can detect whatever new elements in it from the first glance, even it is the first time to read compose code, and this is the compose code. So let's see a video to see how compose can create some complex and very beautiful elements with ease. So let's look together at this video.
Look at me now. 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 Look at me now.
If you enjoyed this video, this has been created when Compose was still in a beta, and it was in the Compose Android Dev Challenge to create some clock using Compose. So you can see about the beautiful animation that's been created using Compose, and this animation was very tough to be created using XML because you will have to create 3 files for only adding animation. So for only a simple create a simple animation. So for this complex animation, it was easier to design than create this UI in XML. So Compose also give us more capabilities. For example, to create a watch face for the new Wear OS from Google. As you can see, also it is very intuitive that we want to add a progress. So we add a progress, get current progress, stroke widths. This is going to be the stroke start angle, where it is going to start, and end angle, where it is going to end. And our progress is going to start, and we are going to change our modifier. And we are using circular progress indicator. So the circular progress indicator can indicate in a circular way about our progress. So we created a very beautiful implementation and animation to our Compose Wear OS with very simple code, and with also as I mentioned, it is easy to read and easy to understand. Compose IDEs support. Of course, Compose is created inside the Android team, but it was been created with Kotlin language. And JetBrains, the ones who support us with IntelliJ IDEA and also Android Studio IDE, they are the one who were behind the Kotlin. That means that they made sure that the Compose IDE integration is superior inside their IDE. As we can see in this live edit, and it is also available since Android Studio Electric L, that if I only made a few changes, I can see it on my preview. I don't need to rebuild, make any changes, waiting for the build time to see my small fixes, my small changes for the UI, because it's under composable. So anything that can any change in my code, it will reflect directly to my preview. And my preview can be a tablet, it can be widescreen, it can be a TV, it can even be a mobile. What about animation? If you notice my previous example, that I also added only animated visibility, and it added this beautiful animation. So animation is out of the box in Compose. Material also is out of the box. I don't have to do much effort to make sure that I will follow the material design theme, or to make sure that to add these animations. It is inside the Compose, and as I mentioned, out of the box. Out of the box, it might mean that I will have less flexibility to modify it. Actually, no. As you can see, using the animator controller, we can control all the animations, which is going to start with which, and we can even change the time it needs to work on, and if we need some animation to start before other. So we do have the whole power to control everything using keystrokes and keyframes, and we can do a beautiful animation as you saw in our previous example video. Compose IDE support. So Compose multi-preview annotations coordination. Now, because of my limited resources, I can only either buy a new mobile or buy a big tablet, but I can't have a tablet, mobile, a TV, and even the new Samsung foldables. I can buy all of them to test my application on all of them. But I can do that with the multi-preview annotations. So I can see, I can create my preview once, and I can see all my previews inside mobile screens, small screens, big mobile screens, tablet screens, TV screens, foldable screens, and even in the watch, and even for smart TV. I can see all the differentiations from only one preview, and on the same time. And I can also see the dark mode, the light mode, and even the right RTL and the LTR. So all of them, all of these changes, I can preview them with only one preview and one command. And if I do any change, as mentioned earlier, I can see these changes affecting all of them at the same time. Third parties support. I can see that Figma is now very into Jetpack Compose, so I can export any of my Figma designs for iOS in SwiftUI and for Android in Jetpack Compose. So it's not XML anymore, it is the Jetpack Compose era, as it is also the Kotlin era. Compose Hammer, it was a paid plugin, but I believe it's now been taken off from the JetBrains plugins too. It was a very helpful that I can, it does have all the composable UI elements, and I can, by very quick annotations, I can select it, and it can add the whole controller of the whole component inside my code. Not only that, I can see also preview of it with many differentiations in dark mode and in light mode, and I can view it, and also I can take this snippet and add it to my code. Studio dynamic colors. So studio dynamic colors, it can help me to detect and to test my code, which is according to material 3. I can change the colors of my application according to the new color that the user is now using as his primer color. But how to test these benefits? Now in the Android Studio, I can test it in Compose. If I allowed it to allow the material 3 colors. JetBrains Fleet, I believe it was mentioned in the previous session by Norhan. So JetBrains Fleet is a new IDE introduced for Compose and also for Kotlin Multiplatform. The beauty of it is that it can allow multi-users to write the code or code on the same time, on the same session. As you can see, there are 2 coders, Christian, Benan, and Natalie. They are both working on the same class and in the same file on the same time. Not only that, I can also build my code in a remote server. So if I am using a Windows device, and of course a Windows device can support me to create or test or build my my application for iOS, I can have a remote server or a remote PC which does have Xcode installed in it, and I can build and publish my code within the remote service or the remote device. And the other benefit of it that it does color the whole code for the Android as the same as the Android Studio, plus it can color it for the Swift code, which is not actually supported inside, which is not the coloring is not still supporting inside Android IDE yet. Android Studio IDE yet. So this is a very big plus. It is a very light IDE. So if you don't have any resources on your devices and you want to work on Android to create a new Android applications, but as I mentioned, your new device or new permanent device, because your own device might be in repairing or something, but you want to continue working on your code, you can download the JetBrains Fleet and start coding your or continue coding your Android project on it. We do have a Figma dev mode, as I mentioned. You can go to Figma mode and export and see your code even in Compose, and even it will describe you which component it is going to use. For example, this is style, this is illustration, and this is the description text, and you can just copy and paste it and edit your code. Besides, there are several means of ways that can enable you to now connect Figma directly to your Android Studio. So you can export your Figma designs into your Android Studio project, and if there is an update by the designers, you can update your Compose directly. Third-party support. So we mentioned Hammer, and we mentioned that it is not supported anymore, might be, but there is also Composables. Using Composables, it is a website which I can navigate into all the composable components for free. But there are some pro elements that might be paid, and I can find snippets that I can just copy and paste it into my project. As I mentioned, you can convert your Figma to Compose. There are several plugins, and now there is a native event plugin created just lately, the last month in Figma. Want to start learning Compose? You can find on my channel. You can find this Compose camp that will have some sessions that you can start with to create your first Android application from scratch using Compose, even you don't have any idea about what is Android and how to start your Android application. It's going to take you step by step and created it with Compose. So what is really new in Compose, which will be announced this year? The shared element transition. The shared element transition, which we are going to have a full session later about animations on Compose. But let me just give you an idea that previously we did have we did need to create this animation per composables. But the idea of compose itself, it is a very brilliant idea that is write once and use it in several places. So if it is the same but different with different data, so I can reuse it. This is the meaning of recomposing. So I can reuse it. So they said, so why I can't share my composables and I can reuse my composables, but I can't reuse my transitions. So why not creating it as a shared element transition? And lazy list item animation. So this is a new addition also, that we can add animation to our lazy list. Lazy list, it is a dynamic list that we can add to it our data dynamically. Contextual flow layout. So I can, for example, determine how many lines I can support, and what is the overflow indicator. If I do have more than these elements, for example, here I mentioned that I'm going to have 2 lines, and if I do have 6 elements, they are going to be drawn only in 6. But if I have more, so that I'm going to show the overflow indicator with the number of extra elements. So this is easy to use and easy to consume. This is also a new addition to Compose. But the most important for us as a developer, the performance. We can see that the performance had been improved through years since 2023 till June 2024. There is a big improvement in performance. Strong skipping mode, so we can make sure that our composables are not going to be recomposed with every change in any state on our screen. Compose compiler moving to the Kotlin repository, so we can previously we did have to update the Compose library version with each time that we do have to update the Kotlin library version. But now they are in one library, so we don't need to update them separately, because now the Compose compiler is now moved to the Kotlin repository. Stable APIs, we do have a lot of stable APIs like the Camera X and other stuff like the navigation is now available for Compose, and type safe navigation is also available for Compose, and also the view model is also now available for Kotlin Multiplatform. So we do have a lot of stable APIs that have been introduced and been updated into Compose. I would like you to look at this mind-blowing session. It is from the great Jay Quarton about Compose for a light switch. It is a very mind-blowing session. In this session, it was part of the KotlinConf, the latest KotlinConf 24 edition. He bought a touch switch, a normal touch switch, and reprogrammed it using Compose. He added the Compose compiler, he added the Kotlin compiler, and start working on the UI element for the switch to light the light switch on and off, and even to show you the temperatures, so you can navigate from your light switch to know the temperature outside today, what is the highest and the lowest temperature. It is a very great session. He did a huge effort on it, and he showed us the power of Compose and also the power of Kotlin, how he managed to control a very small board and add to it these compilers and control it and write composables UI to move the switch with animation to light your light switch. Please have time and visit this YouTube link or search for Jay Quarton Compose UI for a light switch. In last year, the first I mentioned that it is now the multi-platform era, And actually, this year in Kotlin, in Google I/O May edition, they supported, as I mentioned, Kotlin Multiplatform as their cross mobile language or cross mobile tool. So this is a very big thing. So what is exactly Kotlin Multiplatform? We do have a very big session by Ahmed Adel, by the way, tonight. So please stay tuned. So in this session, let me just check how many time I do. I do have still 10 minutes. I believe I can make it. So in Kotlin Multiplatform, I can have one code base and and support two platforms. What does it mean by one code base? What does take most of the time of your mobile development? Most of the time, it might be just to create the network layer, the data layer, and the business layer. Those three layers, they took most of your time, and they are written on almost native Kotlin language. So it doesn't have anything to do with the platform. So the idea is taking this native code, which have nothing to do with the platform, converting it to a library and consume it inside Android, iOS, Mac, IoT, smartwatch, and even for web. So as you can see, we do have the base. We can consume iOS APIs. We can use iOS Swift code inside the Kotlin Multiplatform. And universal framework or that can consume the shared Kotlin business logic, which also can consume the Android APIs and the Android Kotlin code. So we are going to have a universal library that can be consumed anywhere in its native language. So it can give us the native performance, the native speed, and the lightness. So it is not going to add much to our library. All of that, we can build atop of it our UI, either in Compose or in Swift UI or whatever native code that I want for my Mac. So we do have the common multi-platform code. In this common, we can even add some server integration to use the data classes, for example. So we don't need to create it twice, one for the mobile and one for the backend. And over it, we can have the client platform. The client, it can be consumed by Android, iOS, desktop, and web, as mentioned. Android libraries that support Kotlin Multiplatform, we do have, as I mentioned, view model, data store, room, and lifecycle. So the big one that you might need for any application. And it's now stable. By the way, it was stable last year, I believe in November. And that's why it's been supported and adopted by Google in May 2024. The same thing that happened to Kotlin when it became stable in 2016. The Google team supported it and the Android team supported it in May 2018. But we already have Flutter, don't we? So what is the need of Compose? And what is the need of Kotlin Multiplatform? So I will leave Taha bin Ashur. I asked him to use his slides on my presentation. He did a small comparison about, for example, the state, how we are creating states in Flutter and how we do in the Jetpack Compose, list and looping, responding to events, scoped data propagation. As you can see, it is almost the third or half what we need to write in Flutter. We are writing in Compose, list items keys. So I believe this will answer your question. Why Compose instead of Flutter? Less code, better compatibility because it's native. And we can consume all the libraries, room, view model, Jetpack library, the Camera X, all the native platform specific libraries. For example, the barcode reader, the camera, the GPS, the compass, all the native sensors we can consume it inside Jetpack Compose and inside our Kotlin Multiplatform library, which we can't normally or easily using Flutter. But with Flutter, we can create iOS app. So you are telling me that I can use Compose and Swift UI. So I need to learn Swift UI. But in Flutter, I'm learning only one language, which is Dart, and I can create this multi-platform app. So what about Compose multi-platform? It's still in alpha. It's now in alpha. It was in beta, and this year it became an alpha. But even so, it is still supported by big companies like Cash App, Kareem, Meetup, Philips, Netflix, Shopify, Fastwork, Quizlet, Todoist, Download, Notes, McDonald's, Memrise, Get Your Guide, TeamSnap, Deezer, Merlin, and Football. This is only as the tip of the mountain. But there, since the announcement in 2024, this year in Google I/O, that they now support Kotlin Multiplatform, you can notice in the GitHub that there is a big adoption. It is a very peak since May for the Kotlin Multiplatform. So you don't need to worry that, okay, they have the smallest community among all, but it is supported by Google, it's supported by JetBrains, and supported by very strong platform and network and Android people. So that was me, Shady Selim. It was nice having this session to you. Please share your feedback for better understanding your global experience. You can scan this QR code so you can share your feedback with us and tell us how we did in this session. And now let's move to our questions. So we do only have one question, which is from Hudaifa. Hudaifa is asking, when Compose Multiplatform gonna be stable for iOS? I believe by next year, or might be before next year. It might be also in November or December this year, or by the beginning of the next year. Because now Kotlin Multiplatform is in alpha, as I mentioned. Kotlin 2.0 is stable, is very stable. K2, the new compiler, which is giving us twice the speed in less of half the time of the build time with better performance. So it is also now unstable. So I believe they are taking very big steps, and there is also a surprise that they are working on that now the shared library. As I mentioned, it does work for both Android and iOS. In Android, it is native because it's Kotlin. In iOS, it's been shared as Objective-C library, but they are now working on a Swift compiler, so it is going to be smaller, it is going to be faster, and it can support all the updates, the latest updates from iOS directly from Apple. So that was you, Shady Selim, in today's session. I hope you enjoyed it as I did, and please follow us because we still have very interesting sessions coming soon. And another one is going to start in 1 minute. So see you there. Shady Selim, Kotlin Cairo user group, and GDG Helwan. Have a nice, great day and great sessions, and stay safe. And please keep following us. Have a nice day.